On today's very special episode of the Views from Section 400 podcast, we have an MLB Trade Deadline recap, recapping almost every deal that went down on a crazy deadline. I give my grade for the Mets deadline. Matt gives his grade for the Phillies deadline. And we had some breaking NFL news to react to at the end. We'll get into it next.
And just like that, we're back.
A16, turn me up.
Welcome in to a very special episode. It's episode 196 of the Views from Section 400 podcast, but it's the MLB Trade Deadline special. The Mets made moves, the Phillies made moves. It was a wild deadline. Matt, I feel like I just stared at Twitter for 6 hours.
Yeah, just about everybody in the MLB seems like they made some moves. Teams you thought would be buyers were sellers. Teams you thought would be sellers were buyers. Teams were doing both, buying and selling. This is one of the crazier trade deadlines we've seen in a while, and I think that just shows how tight and close a lot of these divisions are. When a lot of teams think they have a chance to make a run in October, you see some of these crazy deadlines. I don't even know what to say, dude. That was pretty nuts. The last hour, I'm like out of breath from pacing.
Yeah, it was wild. I know we were watching every Jeff Pessin tweet, just waiting for the New York Mets or the Philadelphia Phillies. And I want to get your thoughts on the Phillies deadline. But before I do that, I'd just like to say to my brother-in-law, to my boss at the Auburn Wire, and to all of those Atlanta Braves fans out there, your team is officially garbage. I don't know why you didn't sell anybody, but I hope you suck for the next 10 years. This is the Mets and Phillies division to battle out for the next decade. But Matt, let me know what you thought about the Phillies deadline.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I know he's down to take a shot at the Braves. I'm not sure what exactly they were trying to accomplish there. Not really in the race. You'd think they would sell. If they wanted to try and be in the race, maybe they buy, but weird move from them. And, we both can agree we hate Atlanta. Phillies own Atlanta in the playoffs the last couple of years as well, so they can just enjoy that. But, the Phillies moves. Dave Dombrowski was active, did make moves, got a haymaker over the line in Johan, however the hell he pronounced his name. I was corrected by Twin fans on social media on how to pronounce the guy's name. I'll call him whatever he wants. Keep the ERA at 2 and below, and I'll be happy. He's a shutdown, lockdown closer we've seen for the last 4+ years, however long he's been in the year. He's under team control through 2027, so about 2.5 more years of team control. They give up Micah Bell. They give up Eduardo Tate, who people are saying is the next superstar catcher. He's 18 years old. That guy is years away. There's no reason to hold on to that. Let it bite us in the ass in 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. It's win now mode, and that's the type of move you have to do to win now. So yesterday, Dave Dombrowski, A+. Now we come into actual deadline day, July 31st. We saw the Mets kind of jump all over a couple pieces, and we'll let you kind of digest and analyze their moves here in a second, Brian. But, the Phillies went out. They got Harrison Bader, who, when I first saw it, I thought he was kind of a bum, and then I looked at the numbers a little bit. He's having an okay year, decent year. The OPS is up. The on-base is up. Batting average is 260. I just think he's what we wanted Max Kepler to be, and Max Kepler isn't that. So it's just a Kepler replacement. Best case, I think you said it, Brian, probably be Brandon Marsh and Harrison Bader in a platoon role, but I still got to watch maybe Johan Rojas is out there still. Max Kepler is probably still out there. I would have liked to see another move. So C+ deadline day for me from Dave Dombrowski. A+ the day before. Graded overall. B+. I mean, I really would have liked to see a better addition. I like Harrison Bader. if there was another move made, if that's your all in, and we don't know what the Indians or Guardians, excuse me, were asking for in the likes of Steven Kwan, but you kind of saw once the Dodgers got Alex Call, and we know that the Dodgers are, and we'll get into all the moves here in just a little bit, but you kind of saw when the Dodgers got him, it kind of meant that maybe the Guardians' asking price for Steven Kwan was just way too high. And I don't know what those conversations were down the stretch. I know they said trades can trickle in after we're at 6:38 Eastern time on deadline day. We're about 30 minutes after, or 38 minutes after. Think it's about all she wrote. I don't know if anything magical is going to come across the finish line anymore.
Yeah, I think we're done here. We saw a couple after 6
Couple
o'clock. I know the Yankees had a couple trickle through, the Twins had a couple trickle through, and we'll get through it all. But I think I agree with everything you said there about the Phillies. The main thing here with this deadline, especially in the outfield, the White Sox and the Guardians clearly, I mean, I guess I can't say the Guardians mislabeled Steven Kwan's value because he's a great player. He's an all-star this year. Yeah. And he's going to be an all-star almost every year. And he has years of control left. But, like, I wrote about this too in my blog where I recapped every Mets move on viewsfromsech400.com, which everyone should go check out. The White Sox, I don't know what they think Luis Robert is, but he's not an all-star caliber player right now, and he's a rental. And he has player options for $20 million the next 2 years. No team is going to pick that up unless it becomes Barry Bonds in the next 2 months. And clearly there was a divide between the White Sox front office and the buyers with the Phillies, the Mets, and the Padres weren't on him apparently. The malpractice of that organization is crazy.
The White Sox are making a $20 million bet. Here's how I see it playing out. They're picking up his option, which, as we know, is $20 million, and they're betting that Luis Robert will turn back to 2023 Luis Robert. Is he going to be that all-world player again? I don't know, but they're betting that the average is going to come up, the power is going to come back, and, you know, the defense is going to stay close to a gold glove level. Is that the smart move to do? I don't know. But they're taking a shot, a $20 million shot on Luis Robert to turn back to form and possibly unload him next year at the deadline when the value's a lot higher. I don't think it can get worse than a 211 average, but that's the only sense I can make of the move is them taking that bet on him being better next year and potentially unloading him, because we all know the White Sox probably aren't going to be relevant for the next 5 years. I mean, I don't know where they come back to any kind of relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to sell a lot of those $30 milkshakes to even make that $20 million to pay him. But I mean, my thing is, he was really good when the White Sox were good, and then he fell off for 2 years when he didn't have protection in the lineup, and maybe there was a lack of trying because his team was historically bad. And these last couple of weeks, you saw him turn it on again. He had one of the highest OPSs out of any center fielder. Because I think, and I can't go into his mind, I can't pretend like I know what he's thinking, but I want to say he's thinking, hey, I can raise my trade value. They're talking about me getting traded. Maybe I have a chance to win again. And now he's like, what the hell? I got to be here for another year? So I don't know if you're going to get him to be productive. It's whatever. But
we can't get in the guy's head. We don't know how competitive he is. I mean, $20 million is $20 million, whether you're playing for the Dodgers or you're playing for the White Sox. Yeah. So depending on how competitive he is, I don't know. You would think he would want to win, but you know, the White Sox will pick up the option. They will pay him the $20 million, and I would be shocked if he was on the team past the 2026 deadline.
Yeah, and there is a chance Kyle Teal becomes a great catcher and he's some protection for him in the lineup, and maybe the White Sox will.
But they're still so far away. They're still so far away.
It doesn't make any sense to.
Luis Robert, like he's look, we're not, you know, we like to think we're smart baseball guys. We're not in the front office, but like we can tell Luis Robert's probably not going to be part of any plans of the White Sox making a playoff run anytime soon. He's going to be maybe 35 years old when they're ready to kick it into gear and go for something. So I just don't understand how these great minds in baseball, clearly not so great, can't see that and can't capitalize on value, which is why, again, to go back to what I originally said, I think Luis Robert, what he's going to do, or what the White Sox are going to do is take that $20 million bet. Pray to God, maybe they have a conversation in the offseason like, hey, man, you better fricking perform this year, and pray that his value increases, substantially so that they can cash in. Because as desperate as some of these teams were at the deadline, and we know they are, and we know what a lot of the teams' needs were and are, I don't think they were willing to sell the farm for Luis Robert, who's batting .211 and having a really down year.
Yeah, I don't know. When you have such a bad ownership like you do in Chicago, and you got to focus on the Bulls getting out of the play-in along with it doesn't make any sense. But and I'll get into the Mets here, when you can pivot from him and then go get Cedric Mullins for a bunch of guys that project as relievers that throw hard in single A, I mean, of course you're going to do that, and that's exactly what David Stearns did. I love the move to get Cedric Mullins. He's having a down year, which I think he's hitting like .230, but he has a good slugging percentage. He has 15 home runs, and he still plays good defense for you, which is really the only value Tyrone Taylor provided there. And a lot of Mets fans I've seen on Twitter, which I kind of just have to mute a lot of the Mets community because it's so pessimistic. But Cedric Mullins isn't there to be your Yoenis Cespedes. He's not even there to be like your Juan Uribe, your Kelly Johnson. He's not there to be a savior. He's there to give you something out of center field. Tyrone Taylor has 2 home runs and 18 RBIs. He's supposed to be your 4th or 5th outfielder, and he's been forced to play every day because of injury. Like Cedric Mullins can give you some offense and keep that defense good. And the most important thing is now you can shift Jeff McNeil back to second base and now play Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos. Figure them out at third. You don't have to play 2 of them as kind of your infield mess. Now you have a assured second base position, and you have a decent offensive position at center field. So I really like the Mullins move. And that was kind of capped off what was a very good deadline from the Mets. I mean, their bullpen's been a mess. I've had to watch Dickie Lovelady. I've had to watch Genesis Cabrera, and Brandon Waddell, all these just random bullpen pitchers that you're pitching in bullpen games. They've basically been punting games because their bullpen just hasn't been – they've been hurt or ineffective because they've been overtaxed. Now you get Tyler Rogers, you get Ryan Hesley, and then you get I'm blanking on their third guy, Gregory Soto. And you have a shored-up bullpen to go along with Edwin Diaz. I mean, the Dodgers won the World Series last year, and their starters averaged 3 2/3 innings in the playoffs. So, yes, I would have loved a starter, but electric bullpens win in the playoffs, and the Mets electrified their bullpen, and they showed up center field. So I think it's an A deadline for the Mets.
Yeah, the Mets at least made more moves than the Phillies did, and from that standpoint, the Mets did more. So by default, does that mean they won the deadline over the Phillies? Maybe they brought in better, more players.
I think the Mets needed to do more because the Phillies have that rotation where when we had Alex call on, he was like, you can move Suarez to the bullpen in the playoffs. You can move these guys to the bullpen. The Mets don't have that ability. So they needed to shore up that bullpen.
Yeah, they definitely did. And they proved it. They did it. Did they kind of sell the farm, but kind of didn't sell the farm? Like, I know they let some pieces go, but they also were able to keep some pieces behind. It was like a little bit of mix and match of both, but I think that it wasn't too much bleeding.
Yeah, so we talked about this. We were texting earlier today with Will, our editor, and I wrote about this too in my Cedric Mullins grade. The White Sox asked for Jonah Tong, which is the Mets' second highest pitching prospect right now, and I'm pretty sure David Stearns just hung up the phone as soon as his name came up. So they kept Jonah Tong, they kept Noel McLean, and they kept Brandon Sproat, who are their top 3 pitching prospects, who you assume are going to come up very soon and kind of take over the mantle with Kodai Senga, with Sean Manaea to shore up that rotation. They kept Carson Bench, who is their best outfield prospect, and then they gave up Drew Gilbert, who's probably their second best outfield prospect, and they gave up Jesus Baez, who's a shortstop, 20 years old, who probably the best prospect they gave up, but again, like you said about the Phillies catcher they gave up, he's years away. So David Stearns, he did give up pieces, but I mean, you kept the guys that are going to contribute in this window you have with Lindor in his prime, with Nimmo in his prime, with Alonso still on the roster.
And that's why I'm not ready to light the city on fire for the Phillies. I wish they could have done more. We don't know what teams are asking for, but they kept the guys who are Justin Crawford. Like, that guy is borderline ready to be called up tomorrow. Andrew Painter, we know the hype and speculation that he has, all the level of expectation to potentially come in this year for a playoff run. what's his name? The Miller guy, Andrew Miller. I don't even remember his first name. What's it, Andrew?
Andrew Miller was the old Cardinals pitcher.
Yeah,
but it
pitcher
could be him.
Pitched for the Indians too. But
yeah.
Why am I forgetting this guy's name? Whoever the third baseman was, I'm blanking on his name. Miller. He may be 2 years away. So the pieces who could be here, ready to contribute, they didn't give up. They didn't.
Aiden Miller.
Aiden Miller. There you go. I knew it was an A. Aiden Miller stays, and I'm fine with that. If I really wasn't super comfortable selling Painter for Robert, selling Justin Crawford for Robert, Stephen Kwan. So I respect Dombrowski for keeping those guys around. I don't know what else they could have offered, to get guys. And that's why I don't hate Bader. I mean, the pieces they gave up for Bader, I forget what it was, but it was pretty much a bag of chips to get him, man.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Mullins. It's like, I mean, we got to remember both these teams are really good. And all the fans out there listening, you got to remember both these teams are really good. And they're fighting for first place. They're 2.5 games out of the major league lead for best record.
Yeah.
So it's important to fill the holes you need. You don't have to sell the farm here.
No.
Both these teams have a chance to win the World Series.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. Both teams are going to have a shot, and they will have a shot. They made, it feels like the Mets won it because they made more moves. But again, like you said, both teams are really good. And, I think you said it well too. The Phillies kind of have the rotation help, which maybe can leak into their bullpen to help them in the playoffs. The Mets, I know, lack a little bit on the front end in the rotation and the rotation in general, which is why we saw a couple extra bullpen moves, which, in hindsight, when we're in the heat of the deadline, we're like, oh my God, the Mets are making all these moves and the Phillies are doing two things. Like, the Mets are so far ahead. It's like, well, like you said, take a step back, look at what both these teams are, and understand that, well, maybe the Phillies didn't need to sell the farm to try and keep up move for what the Mets were doing. So Dombrowski didn't get rattled. He didn't get outplayed necessarily. Would I've liked to see a little bit of a better bat than Harrison Bader? Yes. But, Bader's not having a horrible year. And for what Max Kepler has given you, it is an upgrade. All Philly fans out there who are, writing Bader off and hating on Bader. Kepler's batting 210, 211. Bader's at like 258. He steals bags. He's got just about the same pop, maybe more pop than Max Kepler does. So this is an upgrade over Max Kepler, which is what the Phillies desperately needed.
Yeah, and that's what's important to remember here. You have to upgrade. Last thing I have on the Mets here, like you said, last postseason when they had to shift the starters to the bullpen, it was Tyler McGill and Jose Butto becoming those guys in the bullpen. And now you have Tyler Rogers, Ryan Hesley, and Gregory Soto to go along with Edwin Diaz. So that's big here. I would have liked the Mets to maybe get a starter from the Miami Marlins, who were very quiet today. Sandy Alcantara and Edward Cabrera, who both were rumored to definitely be leaving, stay put. I know the Marlins are 3-4 under 500 this year, and they've kind of had a resurgent season. Kyle Stowers looks like a star. I don't know. If I was a Marlins fan, I would have liked to see one of those guys get moved, if not both.
Well, I mean, this is what the Marlins have been. What they had that one fluke year where they made the playoffs, COVID year, and then 2 years ago in the wild card round with the Phillies under was that Skip Schumacher was their manager? He coached there for like a year and a half, and they made the playoffs, and then they're back to disaster land. But other than those two outlier years, I mean, they've been sellers at the deadline, unloading pieces, and they kind of did. I mean, Stowers stayed. Kyle Stowers, who's their guy that they wanted, people were speculating on him. But Jesus Sanchez did go to the Rangers. Where did he end up?
Astros. And we can shift to that division because, I mean, I know we're obviously most invested in the NL East, and it is going to be a great race down the stretch. But the AL West, I mean, everyone was buying.
Yeah, I would love to shift over to the AL West because that division was very active. Let's talk about it. Eugenio Suarez, who was linked to maybe he was linked to the Mariners. I feel like he was linked to a lot more teams, and the Mariners just kind of came out of nowhere and swooped him up. If I recall correctly, already had a stint in Seattle, so familiar with the ballpark, familiar with the team, familiar with the culture, I guess, ownership, whatever you want to call it. It's another power bat to add to that lineup that already has Cal Raleigh, who we see is hitting home runs like it's going out of style.
Yeah, and Josh Naylor. I mean, they're the Seattle Diamondbacks now. You have Julio Rodriguez still there, Randy Rosarina. So I'm a little worried about my my West Coast Pacific Northwest take after the Mariners deadline here.
Yeah, listen, the Mariners, we usually don't see them do anything at the deadline. They usually are silent, sit on their hands, and kind of just hope for the best with what they got. They made some moves to try and go for it, but are they still better than the Astros, especially with the moves they made? We'll get into in a minute.
I don't know. And the weird thing with the Mariners is we're always kind of sitting here every deadline or every October if they sneak in, and we're like, they have the pitching, but do they have the bats? Now they have Murderers Row, at least on paper, in the lineup. Yeah. But you look at their pitching, and they have Wu, they have George Kirby, who's been dealing with injuries all year, but they're kind of injured and they're kind of just meh. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the Mariners. And Suarez is a nice player. I think he would have benefited more going to the Phillies than he does going to the Mariners. A lot more protection in that Phillies lineup for Suarez to really.
Even the Yankees.
Or the Yankees.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Who's injured, so they got to work on him coming back anyway. But the Mariners, even everything they did, they're having a nice year. Maybe they make the playoffs, but they're not a team I'm scared to threaten for a World Series. I don't know if I'm not trying to be a hater. What do I have against the Mariners? Nothing. They don't scare me, Brian. I'm just not worried about the Mariners. Should I be?
Yeah. So I agree with you, and I disagree with you. I agree with you if it's the Mariners in the World Series against one of these NL teams that upgraded. I think the NL team clears, but the AL, especially after what the Tigers did today, where they didn't do much to kind of separate themselves, it's wide open. So any team could get hot here, and it could be the Astros now with Carlos Correa, who's happy again.
I think I'm still taking the Mariners over the Tigers, or the Tigers over the Mariners. I think that's a matchup won by the manager, and AJ Hinch wins. I don't even know the Mariners manager is, but I'll take AJ Hinch over whoever he's got to go up against on the other side. I think that's a chess match series. I think the Tigers come out on top.
Yeah, the thing is though, if it's like a 3-game, and maybe a 3-game set favors the Tigers still because they get Skubal for game 1.
Yeah,
but those series are weird.
They are. You never know. So we'll wait and see. And the Mariners can make me eat my words here in a couple of months. But do want to get to the Houston Astros, who, not going to say people thought they were going to suck this year, but I think they're a little bit of a question mark, losing Bregman and just who was it in the beginning of the year that went down for the entire season? Did they have a pitcher that went down?
They lost the guy through the no-hitter.
Framber Valdez?
No, Blanco?
No, he's back. Blanco, yeah, Ronel Blanco went down. So, and then losing Bregman and not really having a replacement, losing Kyle Tucker as well.
The guy they got for Kyle Tucker has been pretty good. I mean, that's part of the reason they're in it.
But didn't they just also have a guy go down for the year as well? The third baseman?
Isaac Paredes did get hurt. Is he out for the year?
I heard out for the year, which is why they made a play for their newest former player, Carlos Correa, comes over from the Twins. The Twins didn't want to eat $50 million, but I heard they ate a lot of that contract, which I don't know why or what the incentive was, but they're eating a lot of money for him to go play in Houston. And Houston's got what, 4 or 5 game lead in that division.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I would have liked the Astros. I know they were in talks to acquire Dylan Cease, and it would have been big for the Padres too to kind of restock that farm. The pitching, I think, is good enough. They just feel like they need a little bit more. And Carlos Correa is probably going to be great for them. He'll probably be happy again and move into his old house. And
he's going to be the most fun player to watch, for the next 3 months. They're going to turn into a super team again. I guarantee it.
This division, though, and I know the MLB schedule got ruined where you don't play your division as much anymore, but they're going to have a lot of tough games, and you got to win enough to. I know they're ahead in the division, but say the Mariners get hot and they fall to that wild card. The AL wild card is not an easy race to stay atop of right now.
We saw the Tigers knock off the Astros in Houston last year. When everybody was like, the Tigers, okay, it's nice they made it. They have no lineup, no bats. Sure, their pitching's okay. They knocked them right off. So anything could happen in the playoffs, as we know. And the AL is going to be just as tricky as the NL.
Yeah, and one of those teams that the Astros are going to have to deal with, the Rangers, a very sneaky good deadline. Phil Maton, former Met, was great in the regular season, not great in the playoffs, but thank you for your regular season service, Phil. Merrill Kelly, a rental, but a very good pitcher. And Danny Colomb, good left-hander, also gets righties out. They're 1, 2, 3 in the rotation, in the postseason rotation right now is Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, and Merrill Kelly. It's one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, it's a good rotation, and we know what the lineup is, especially is Corey Seager out hurt right now?
He's been on and off hurt, but he's playing right now.
Yeah, when he gets going for the playoffs, they have a dangerous lineup. I thought it was funny. There were some fake reports about Adolis Garcia potentially headed to the Mets. That was a pretty wild roller coaster, but also made no sense after acquiring Mullins.
Yeah, it would be a weird fit. He'd have to DH, and then you're like, all right, well, you still have Vientos.
Then what do you do with Marte too?
Yeah, Marte. It didn't make sense.
It made no sense. So that's why we understand some fake reports, but. Yeah, I mean, they shored up what they had to shore up. I'm still not 100% convinced on their bullpen. I know they got Maton, but do they have a lockdown closer? I'm not sure they do.
Yeah, I don't think they really.
Like some nice setup arms, some nice 7-8 guys, but do they have a guy 9th inning that comes in and shuts it down? I don't know. Maybe they do, but to me.
Yeah, so they've been closer by committee. They've been using Robert Garcia a lot. David Bednar would have been great for them. Or Robert Suarez. But, yeah.
We've seen how closer by committee goes, and it doesn't work in the playoffs. So that's a red flag for me. Merrill Kelly, again, like you said, rental. Usually when we see rentals, they usually turn up this time of the year into the playoffs. So you should get productive innings out of him. But, again, they need some of these heavy hitters to maybe fall off so they can catch lightning in a bottle and win a fluke World Series like they did in 2023.
Yeah, we don't recognize that World Series. I think that one's more Mickey Mouse than the NBA bubble. And
that one was ridiculous. Totally, dude. If the Phillies made that World Series, they were not losing to the Rangers. They got caught up in a Diamondback curse, and then we watched the Diamondbacks go to the World Series and just. What was that series? 4-1 gentleman's sweep. I mean, that was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. Jacob deGrom got his ring though, so I'll at least.
So you can hightail it home for that.
Yeah, I think let's stay out west here because the NL West had a crazy one team in the NL West had a crazy deadline. The Padres. AJ Preller's back at it again, selling the farm to try to win a World Series. On paper, it looks good. On paper, it looks like they have a really good team, and I know they just swept the Mets, so I might be a little salty about this, but the Padres always find ways to blow it, whether it's against the Phillies, whether it's against the Dodgers. On paper, they look really good.
Yeah, dude, Mason Miller. Is it worth giving up the number 3 prospect in baseball? I don't think so. I don't know how good this number 3 prospect is going to be, but Mason Miller, we saw be effective and pretty much lights out. Was it 2 years ago and then again last year? But boasting a 3.38 ERA as a closer, it's fine, but it's not a 2.
He's also been pitching in that minor league ballpark.
I understand, but the guy's closer to a 3.5 than he is a 2.5.
Yeah, I think if you make this trade worth it, and by the way, the prospect they sold was the highest ranked prospect traded at a deadline since Eloy Jimenez in 2017. So this just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But the way you make this trade worth it is you stretch out Mason Miller, and he becomes a starter for you for however many more years he has left in the majors. And I don't know if he can do that.
They already tried, and he did it in the Oakland Coliseum, which is 500-foot home runs need to be hit for the ball to go out there. So he did it in a large ballpark. I think the Mason Miller starter days are over, and who knows what the Padres try and do, but this guy's going to make his money in the MLB as a shutdown closer, I think, and that's how I would keep him. I wouldn't try and go back and forth with them. That never ends well.
Yeah, I do like they traded for Freddie Fermin, and their catchers have basically given them nothing all year.
Yeah, so that's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. Whatever. I don't know what Freddie Fermin. I guess he's been fine this year. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's been fine.
He's OPS in the 700, mid 700s. So
which
is an average offensive player.
Better than what they've been getting. So again, upgrade there. The bigger one is Ramon Laureano, who we kind of forget about. He was unbelievable his early years with the Athletics, if you remember that far back. And Ryan O'Hearn, who's also come over from Baltimore to shore up that lineup. So very active. And again, the Padres, I think the Phillies and the Mets are probably better, but close behind Padres on paper. I mean, still a very good team. They're only 3 games or 4 games back of the Dodgers for the NL West, who everyone said the Dodgers were going to win that division by 10 games and it wasn't going to be close. So a very good team, and they add like 3 or 4 pieces to a team that's already, high expectations and expected to do well. So Padres, did they win the deadline out of all the teams? Not even go division by division?
I think if you just look at the flashiness of it, yes.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't know if it's enough to get over the hump. And I will preface that with saying if I haven't seen a Mets division title in a decade, and I really want to see them win the NL East. But if it sets up a first-round matchup with the Padres for a 3-game series, I'm terrified because the Mets don't beat the Padres. That last time they played in the playoffs, it was the disgraced Joe Musgrove. I still think he might have been cheating, but he didn't have the sticky stuff on his ears when they checked him. I don't want to see the Padres, so I'm going to have to scoreboard watch at the end of the season there. But
how many wins did the Mets have that year?
101.
It's a big season for the Mets to go down in the wild card round at home.
Yeah, it sure was. Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer just shat a brick in that playoff series. I don't know. I still don't know if the Padres are better than a healthy-ish Dodgers.
Yeah, no, they're not. And I think it's a stretch, but let's say the Padres somehow win that division because they are not that far back. I still would take the Dodgers in a playoff series easily.
That'd be fun if they ended up as I guess it'd be in the first round, it'd be 3 versus 6, but the Dodgers wouldn't fall to 6. But maybe second round in the best of 5. It'd be a fun series. We saw it last year, I think.
Not saying it's going to happen, but it is a possibility. And it's more of a possibility to happen than it is to not happen, at least based on where the standings are right now.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Dodgers, they didn't do much. They didn't really have to. They got Brock Stewart in the bullpen. He's probably not going to give up an earned run until maybe the playoffs. Alex Call's a good piece from the Nationals. He's an annoying hitter. He's going to hit probably 2 singles a game.
What's he coming in? Utility role? Or where does Alex Call fit in?
Well, with the rate of injuries they have, he'll probably be playing every other day. I know the Michael Conforto experiment hasn't really worked, so he probably just takes over.
Conforto's there. Andy Paez is there. Teoscar Hernandez. I don't know where they are in the injury. I know there's been so many injuries in LA, but pretty loaded outfield. It calls an outfielder, no?
Yeah. I think he played right. He could play either corner. Outfield.
Yeah, probably a corner guy. Pretty loaded outfield though, so who knows where he fits in. I know Ohtani obviously takes up the DH, so maybe an every other day guy, maybe just a flashy, expensive utility guy. That's what the Dodgers have been known to do here as of late.
I was surprised they didn't really go after a starting pitcher, especially after Shohei Ohtani exited with cramps the other day.
No, if anything, they dumped Dustin May.
Yeah, which I think
I don't know how good he's been this year, but
yeah, he just needs a change. He needs to get out of LA. But
has Dustin May been good? 4.85 ERA. At least he stayed healthy. Is his takeaway?
yeah, I think
Most recent start was against the Red Sox. 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, and the Red Sox were like, "Yep, give me him."
yeah, I don't know. Dustin May, red hair, Red Sox. Maybe there's a fit there. The other team in this division that was going for it at one point when they acquired Rafael Devers, the San Francisco Giants decided to sell. So I guess they're no longer a factor. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do much this season at all, I don't think. Unless Jose Butto becomes a second half Cy Young candidate.
I'm not worried about Jose Butto, man. I'm honestly pissed the Mets gave him up because that guy just screamed blow a game in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, he had a couple good outings in the playoffs last year. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, whatever. Giants. We didn't talk about the Giants, or did we?
Well, that's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're wrapping up. But people will say selling, but let's not forget they acquired Rafael Devers.
Yeah, I think they're the second worst team in baseball, only behind the Nationals since they acquired Devers. He does not look good at first base. He had a couple boofs against the Mets in that series.
The Giants, I think, had a lead every single game of that series, and somehow the Mets clawed their way back. I mean, that easily could have been at least 2 out of 3 for the Giants. Somehow, the Mets just didn't go away. But that was, I don't know how they blew it. I guess bad bullpen, which seemingly only got worse, losing to Duvall and Rogers. But we'll see. The Giants could definitely fall off. But hey, maybe they're loading up for next year with Devers, give them an offseason in San Fran, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think that's the plan here. You kind of you have Devers now, so you might as well kind of look towards the future and try to rebuild this thing. But I guess we'll stay in the Central, or we'll stay in the NL, and we'll go over to the NL Central. I guess the Rays were the biggest buyers in this division.
You mean the Reds? Yeah,
the Reds. Yeah,
they probably were, and it's weird. There's teams. I thought the Cubs would be super active. Maybe the Brewers. The Brewers didn't do anything, I don't think. I mean,
no, and it doesn't make any sense because you still have Logan Henderson, who I have a vendetta against the Brewers because I had him in fantasy baseball, and he's been wasting away in the minor leagues. But you would think they would try to flip a pitcher to bring him back up and maybe get another bat to help out that lineup. But Andrew Vaughn is hitting 400 this month.
Yeah, I mean, did they have to do anything? Aren't they tied for the best record in baseball?
Yeah, they just swept the Cubs, I believe, or it took 2 out of 3. They won the series.
They took 2 out of 3 because there's one game the Cubs won big. It was
Okay.
the game when Freddie Peralta got rocked.
Yeah, so that was the getaway day. So the Cubs salvaged one.
Yeah, they definitely did. But Brewers didn't do anything, and then the Cubs, who are clearly in a position where if they make a sneaky couple moves, like they're lining up for a World Series run, Mike Soroka and Willie Castro is their deadline.
Yeah, so the front office is going to spin this by saying their deadline was in the offseason when they acquired Kyle Tucker, which, to be fair, it's been a pretty
that's a big get.
Pretty big get.
But they also, not to cut you off, I want you to keep going. But to go on a branch here, they get Kyle Tucker, but then only give him a 1-year deal to maybe ruffle his feathers come the next offseason. So a weird chess move by the Cubs front office on that front.
It's weird to acquire him as like a rental and then not try to go more all in at the deadline, because it sure doesn't seem like they want to re-sign him. The other thing is with the Mike Soroka deal, I think behind the scenes, this was maybe a whole week of, hey, give us Mackenzie Gore. What do you want for Mackenzie Gore? And they just went back and forth for a week. And then finally it was like, all right, we'll take Mike Soroka.
All right, we'll do Soroka. And I did see some things, Cubs, decent starting rotation. Maybe we see Soroka in the bullpen for the Cubs.
Maybe. He just feels like a clone of Jameson Taillon.
Yeah.
So now you just have 2.
Yeah. Willie Castro, nice addition to the lineup.
Yeah, he's a good utility. He can play everywhere.
Fine. Yeah.
I guess he's their John Birdie. They had Birdie when he was decent, so I guess they're trying to recreate that.
Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But again, a team I thought They were active, but I just thought they'd be active in a different way. And those are the pieces they end up with. I don't know what kind of farm they have to sell, but I guess they weren't willing to part ways, or they just didn't have the firepower to get some of these bigger names.
Yeah, I mean, they sold Cam Smith. Cam Smith was definitely their highest prospect when they traded him for Kyle Tucker.
So they already kind of sold the farm, but they went for Tucker, who they only re-signed for 1 year, which very weird move, like you said. You mentioned the Reds, Hayes and Littell. Didn't they already have Austin Hayes?
Brian Hayes.
Brian Hayes. There you go. So 2 Hayes on the Reds now. I mean, look, I when I saw them being buyers last night in acquiring Littell, and was it the other day getting Hayes? I didn't think they got him today, but
they got him early.
They got him early. They were buyers. Are these crazy like move the needle type moves? Not really. I mean, Zach Littell has a major issue with giving up home runs, which will not bode well in the playoffs.
No, and in that ballpark.
Yeah, so they were buyers. They're in a race for a wild card, but I think
they kind of realize they're not gonna get there this year, and it's not worth selling the farm to try to get there this year. The NL is such a gauntlet. I like this though, like Brian Hayes, platinum glover maybe, at least a gold glover. And I think Harold Reynolds made the point on MLB Network. Now he takes defensive pressure off of Elly De La Cruz, and he doesn't have to have as much range there at shortstop. He's not going to hit, but in that ballpark, his numbers will go up a little bit. The Littell one doesn't make any sense to me because they have a good rotation.
A good rotation? Littell, like, he's not going to be good in the playoffs. Like, he's not a guy you want to run out there.
You might not even need him in the playoffs. You have Nick Lodolo. You have Hunter Green, who's been injured, but he's coming back. And then Chase Burns strikes out 10 people every game. I don't know if they're going to cap him. Maybe they'll shut him down for an innings limit, but they have good pitching.
Yeah, weird moves. Again,
Andrew Abbott too.
Yeah,
it's a 2 ERA this year.
I agree, man. They were buyers, and they're in a spot to go for a wild card. Were these like, I don't know. I can't make sense of it. Let's wrap up here on the Cardinals. Steven Matz, former Met. Maton, former Met, or is this the other Maton?
Yep, 2 former Mets get moved to the Cardinals.
And Helsley goes to the Mets. So the Mets all over the Cardinals deadline day.
I love to see it. I love seeing the Cardinals bad. I think Steven Matz will probably get the chance to start in Boston. Maybe they can capture lightning in a bottle.
Has he recreated his career? Has he rejuvenated his solid bullpen arm? I mean, I remember he was like the next best prospect with the Mets. He kind of fell off, went away, and I guess the Cardinals haven't been super relevant, so he just kind of has been buried in a mediocre, nobody cares about the NL Central division.
Yeah, and Matt's he was supposed to be the number 5 guy on that all-time great rotation, and he was fine. But once everyone got hurt or dealt, it was kind of like, all right, he's not going to be a top of the rotation guy, so might as well just get rid of him. I like the fit with the Red Sox. I like the Maton fit with the Rangers, and obviously I like the Helsley fit with the Mets. So I think they did a good job. The Cardinals always do a good job with selling or buying, whatever. They're a good organization that's just having a rough go of it right now.
Yeah, and they've been relevant for a while, so it's weird to see them kind of in this little lull period. I know it was do they still have Arenado? I know that was kind of not the way they expected.
Yeah, and they've been trying to trade him for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a little different. And again, not to harp on them for too long, but what was it? Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson, and Lars Nootbaar were all swirling around in rumors, and the Cardinals end up holding on to all 3.
Yeah, kind of weird to see that, but again, it just seems like the hitting market was set at such a high bar this deadline, because there were a bunch of good pieces, but no great one, and it seemed like all the GMs were asking for the price of a great hitter for these good pieces.
Right. It wasn't like a Juan Soto sitting on the Nationals.
Yeah, no Juan Soto, no Cespedes, no. I mean, we've seen even like Josh Bell when he went to the Padres. Like he was
Yeah.
having a great year. Like there was no
No, it was,
no Mark
the
Trumbo.
closest thing would be Luis Robert if he was having a 290, 25 plus home run year here at the deadline. That would be like, okay, he's the premier guy you go and get. And I think, again, to wrap it all back to what I said at the beginning, is what the White Sox are taking that $20 million bet on, is that he's that come next deadline.
Yeah, it makes sense. Last team in this division, real quick, just the Pirates. And we'll get into this more with the Yankees. They sold Bednar. They kept Paul Skeens, kept Mitch Keller, kept O'Neill Cruz. I don't know what that organization is doing. They
Sold
might be
Bailey
as bad as the White
Falter,
Sox. Bailey Falter. Yeah,
who's had a nice year. I mean, he's been
Yeah.
under a 4 ERA. I don't think he's a playoff pitcher, and I think he's a really nice number 4. And this year he's pitching to being a really nice number 3. But I think he's for what he is as a career, I don't know, keep that up. He's a really nice number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's fair. And
that's what he is.
If the Royals do end up making the playoffs, and we can jump over to the Royals because that's where Bailey Falter went.
Yeah.
Move over to the AL Central. They're not going to really need him. It'll be Reagans, who will be back eventually, I believe. Seth Lugo, who also was rumored to be traded, and they kept. And I believe they have one more. Oh, Chris Bubic just went out for the year. So maybe Falter's their Bubic replacement. I don't know. They got Mike Yastrzemski to kind of help that lineup that can't hit with runners in scoring position.
Yeah. Maybe he could be a piece. I mean, the Royals are 500 and the Tigers are so many, a 10-game lead. Like I think the AL Central's out of the picture for the Royals. So I don't know what they look like in the wild card, but that's their avenue to justifying these moves at the deadline.
Yeah, and it'll certainly help. The Twins imploded, and Cleveland's just having a rough year, and they just lost Class A for gambling. But I don't know. They could be a fun
gambling. Bieber was expected back shortly. Who he goes elsewhere. To the AL East. I don't know. Did we clean up on the AL East yet?
No, we'll finish off with the AL East. And we kind of talked about a lot of the Central already, but Cleveland, they keep Stephen Kwan. Trade Shane Bieber.
The Twins, all they did, I mean, Byron Buxton walked in the locker room today, and there's nobody there.
Yeah, they kept Joe Ryan for some reason. Don't know why they did that. If they're going to sell
we'll
everybody
keep
else.
one pitcher and we'll keep one batter, and let's restart. Call up all the prospects.
Yeah, it seems like they do this every other year where they're just like, all right, we were good, but now we're not that great, so we're just going to restart it and be a mediocre team again that might make a wild card.
I think they were doomed ever since they left that dome stadium where they won the World Series in 1991. Having playoff baseball in Minnesota in the middle of October at night cannot be fun, and I genuinely believe the freaking football team plays inside and the baseball team doesn't. I think that's a curse.
Yeah, Minnesota just might be cursed when they play outside. Was it Blair Walsh that had that field goal go wide left against the Seahawks, like a 20-yarder when they had to play outdoors?
Yeah, at the University of Minnesota. Yeah, that was 10-9 final, I believe that was, and he shanked a field goal that would have propelled them. Maybe that wasn't the score. I don't know. It feels like that was the score.
That might have been.
But, I think it was. But yeah, Pete Carroll steals one. Bring it back to his college days. He wasn't unfamiliar with the landscape.
Yeah, well, I like Twins fans. I like Target Field looks like a fun place to go. So I hope they rebuild properly. And with the Central, you never know.
Yeah, usually wide open, but the Tigers with AJ Hinch kind of building a foundation and grandfathering himself in. I don't even know if that's a word, but you know what I mean. Solidifying himself kind of as the Tigers manager now and of the future. You know, once he's got his claws and things, you know, we can see the Tigers be very good for a long time and kind of control things out of, you know, AJ Hinch was doing it in the AL West with the Astros. I think this is an easier division for him to control.
Yeah, and they're a good team. They have some holes in the lineup. They strike out a lot. I would have liked them to pick up Stephen Kwan would have been perfect for them, but again, that's like in division trading. It's probably not going to happen.
It's going to be a higher price tag for sure.
and the price was
of
already
what
super high.
already a skyrocketed price tag is. We saw the Dodgers even turned away and didn't go for him.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Morton's been pitching better lately, so maybe that's a good piece. Paul Sewald, another former Met. Seems like there's a million of them that get traded every deadline.
It's actually crazy how many former Mets are just like being thrown around.
And Kyle Finnegan, the Nationals, I guess their biggest piece to move, although I think the return for Alex Call was bigger. That just might be because the Dodgers farm system is loaded. I think they did enough, maybe, but it's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, it's Charlie Morton over a 5 ERA, so not sure what the angle was there. Sewald,
like 8. He's been better lately.
Yeah, he's been a little bit better. So you're absolutely right there. Sewald, I thought started the year out not great, pretty horrible. Maybe he's reeling it in a little bit, and then Finnegan, honestly, that's a nice addition to their bullpen. I think he's been solid. Not much playoff experience, I don't think, though. Not much in the big moment. I mean, pitching for the Nationals the last couple of years, sure, he comes in high leverage spots when it's June, July, and August in games that don't really matter too much. How's he going to fare in a playoff game? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because Finnegan you'd think would be the better arm without that playoff experience, and then Sewald, I think he has World Series experience if he got into that World Series with the Diamondbacks.
He does.
So,
he was
not as good of an arm.
He was lights out in that series when the Phillies were in the NLCS. He was lights out there, and then obviously that whole Diamondbacks team, I guess, just ran out of steam and fell apart in the World Series. But we'll see. Sewald experience in the playoffs. He could definitely be an arm where he wiped the stats from the regular season. He turns into a different pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I like their deadline, but again, the AL
like it, don't love it.
Yeah, in the NL, this would be a good deadline, but in the AL, it felt like there was room for them to further extend the lead they already had.
They could have added a bat. They could have added a Luis Robert or added somebody. They could have made some moves with the bats. I agree.
Yeah, but
they didn't.
They did not. A lot of teams in the AL East added a lot of, elite, but they added.
I mean, the Blue Jays got Shane Bieber, who hasn't pitched at all this year, but is very close. I think just recently pitched 4 innings. Not sure how many pitches, but based on reports, looked very sharp. So that was enough for them to go and get him in a rotation that, is still led by Kevin Gausman and Jose Barrios. I mean, Gausman's been better as of late and pretty solid. Barrios, Bieber, Gausman as a 1-2 in the playoffs of a team that's been, I'd say, overachieving a little bit this year. Yeah, we'll see. I think that 1-2 could be scary if the lineup stays hot like it's been.
Yeah, I really wanted Bieber on the Mets. I was convincing myself they were going to put a package together for Shane Bieber and Stephen Kwan. And I did write up a Justin Bieber pun-filled little recap of why I wanted Shane Bieber. And I would be remiss if I didn't say it. So I'm sorry in advance. Oh, baby. I really said, what do you mean on this one? Bieber would have been somebody to love on the Mets. But whatever. He's a ghost of his former self. He probably won't stay in Toronto anyway. So never say never with him going to the Mets. I really would have loved this, but maybe he shows out for the Blue Jays and he doesn't want to pay the property tax or whatever taxes they have in Toronto, and he could be a Met next year. I love Shane Bieber. Don't love Max Scherzer in that rotation, but I like Shane Bieber for the Blue Jays, who are in first place in this division.
Yeah, first place and just had a pretty rough series down in Baltimore and been slipping a little bit, but still they've built a cushion where I think they're still 4 or 5 games up in that division.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Yankees can catch them with their – listen, this is where I'm going to piss off some Yankee fans, but we saw it with Juan Soto in the offseason, and we saw it again at the deadline here. The Yankees used to be quality over quantity, where the Mets would be the team that just would try to make moves and show they were a large market franchise. If you took off the labels Mets, Yankees, and just showed this deadline to me 3 years ago, I would have thought the Mets deadline was exactly what the Yankees did, and the Yankees deadline was what the Mets did. This is a bunch of mediocre that they're going to try to help stick, or they're going to try to hope sticks and leads them to a World Series.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite move's Duvall from the Giants. I think they needed to clean up their bullpen, and now with David Bednar, Camilo Duvall, and already Devin Williams.
Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, who's been
I think the bullpen, Weaver's kind of fallen off a little bit, but still some nasty stuff. They shored up the bullpen, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see, dude. I don't know what they have starting rotation-wise, but I think the bullpen, all they have to do is they're hoping to have a lead going late into games in the playoffs because that's going to be a pretty tough lineup. But, something interesting I heard earlier, Bednar lights out in Pittsburgh. It's a lot different pitching in New York.
A lot different pitch. And Duvall, too. Apparently, he does not like talking to the media, and they're going to be talking to him a lot.
Just as fiery up in New York as it is in Philly. So, the West Coast media, they're a little more laid back. They're, what'd you have for dinner last night? Yeah, you just got blown up in the 8th. It's okay. Go get them tomorrow. It's a little different here in the Northeast.
Yeah, and the Yankees, they are a playoff team, and their deadline puts them in position to try to take this division from the Blue Jays. But it's just like how the mighty have fallen. This is a patchwork deadline instead of them going out there and getting impact pieces.
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest bat was Ryan McMahon. He's okay. Would have been, if you got him and somebody else, I think that would have moved the needle a little bit more. Again, like you said, playoff team, they made moves at the deadline that they were better than they were yesterday before the deadline. And I think that's what the ultimate goal is every time.
And again, it's the AL, so it's a weaker league. Maybe they make the run to the World Series again. A team that probably won't be making a run, the Rays. They were in it for a while. They had three guys get injured today, and then they demoted Taj Bradley and then traded him for Griffin Jax. I think Jax has another couple of years of control, so that's why they made the move, not for this year, but for next year and the year after.
I mean, that's what the Rays like to do, is get guys under control. Jack's a nice pitcher, so maybe they're loading up for something next year. I don't know what else to say. The Rays were in it. Now they're not. It kind of all went downhill when Brandon Lowe got injured. What was it, 6 weeks ago or a month ago? Whenever he got in, I think it was a month ago, and it kind of, the wheels kind of started falling off.
Yeah. Also, the Rays and the Red Sox both been kind of hovering in the race, but the Red Sox, you felt, were definitely going to be buyers, and they were linked to Mitch Keller, they were linked to Sandy Alcantara, they were linked to Joe Ryan at the end. They end up with Dustin May, which we already kind of talked about.
Yeah, again, his last start was in Fenway for the Dodgers and let up 4 runs in 5 innings. And as I said earlier, the Red Sox were like, yeah, come join our rotation. So they got a firsthand look. And again, not a needle mover for me when it comes to the playoffs. That's what you're making these moves for right now anyway, right? I mean, these are moves to help you in the playoffs. These are moves, you got to get the guy settled in. You got to get him adjusted to your team. These are like, you're making this move now, here at the end of July, for the end of October.
Yeah, no, and they did not. People hate on prospect huggers, and it seems like that's what the Red Sox have been for the last 3 years. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. They confused me today. The Braves confused me today. The Pirates certainly confused me today.
Yeah, it was a lot of teams that I think were maybe not caught in the middle, but like I said, they were buying and selling, and even like they confused you, they confused me. I think they were confused themselves.
I think they did confuse themselves. It's kind of like you're trying to do so much that you stall yourself, you stall your brain, and then 6 p.m. hit, and they were like, oh.
You're like, oh, what just happened? What do we do? It's like when you black out gambling, and you're like, oh my God, I just lost all this money. It's like, they didn't really know what they did. And, got to give the Mets and the Phillies credit. Stearns and Dombrowski, for the most part, kept their cool, got what they needed, didn't give up too much. And, I don't think the Mets certainly made more moves, but I don't think one team solidified themselves as, okay, this is the team that's going to win it now because they made these 3 monster moves. I still would say this is a 2-horse race down the stretch in terms of the NL East.
No, I completely agree. I think we're both happy with our team's deadlines. They
Yeah.
could have maybe done more, but both happy, and they're both good teams, and it's going to be a really fun race.
Really fun down the stretch. And the last thing on that is, both teams could have sold the farm to try and really solidify what I just said, and they didn't do it. But look, I think for the most part, and again, there's going to be extremists that hate it on both sides for the Mets and the Phillies. Probably more for the Phillies than the Mets, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who
There's
hates
a
the
lot of
hate. I'm sure there's
people aren't
out,
happy with Cedric Mullins. It doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
I'm sure there's people out there, and people are pissed with Dombrowski for only adding Bader, and they should have, did more. But to get the pieces both teams did and not sell the farm. I know prospects were given up, but sell the farm, give up like really high caliber guys. I think they kept their cool.
Yeah.
And going forward, they added pieces they needed to add, and they got deals done that benefited both teams. And like I said, they didn't completely blow up the farm. So with that being said, I guess I'll take that. If before the deadline you're going to say the Phillies are going to get an elite closer, I probably would have taken it. So anything else after that was a cherry on top. Harrison Bader, is he flashy? Not really. Is he going to play hard, run the bases hard, give you a little bit more than what Kepler has? At least the sample size we have this year, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think I'm same spot you are. You would have told me the Mets got 3 relief pitchers, all very good relief pitchers, and the center field upgrade. I would have taken that. I would have said, well, I would have liked the starting pitcher, but maybe they bring up Noah McLean and he's that Frankie Montas, Paul Blackburn replacement for the rest of the regular season, and it works out. I give the Mets an A. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, and I'll go B plus. And really, if they added Quan in there over, if they got Bader, Quan, and Duran, I don't think there was anybody else left to give up for Quan. I think it really had to take Painter or Crawford, and the Phillies were not giving 2 guys who can potentially contribute this year for Steven Kwan.
Yeah, just strange market for hitters, but I mean that's the MLB trade deadline, and it was a lot of fun. We spent an hour here talking about it because there were that many moves to talk about.
There's that many moves, and we'll see what teams do here down the stretch with all. I mean, it's almost like that was like an off season, dude.
Yeah. And there'll be the non-waiver deadline too, where some guys get tendered and then picked up. But before we go here, we do have some breaking NFL news, and we'll wait to talk about the bulk of it until Jack comes back on Wednesday.
What do we got?
We also have a very special guest on Wednesday. No show on Monday. It'll be back to Wednesday. Terry McLaurin has officially requested a trade from the Washington Commanders. Will he be signed or will he be traded by the start of the regular season?
Quick instant reaction. We saw this with Myles Garrett, ended up signing a monster deal. So not going to say he's out of Washington just yet, but 1 foot's out the door.
I think they hold on to him, and this is kind of the last straw because you need him. You can't have Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel as your 3 receivers for your star quarterback in his second year.
You're a week away from the first preseason game and 5 weeks away from week 1. You don't have any time to get a replacement. You have to re-sign him.
Yeah, and you're going to go – they have a dual practice with the Patriots, who I believe they play in the first week of the preseason. Christian Gonzalez is going to be all over Deebo, and Jane Daniels is going to have to throw it to Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, and Austin Eckler out of the backfield. So might be some ugly practices if he's not on the field.
That practice could be a blessing in disguise for the Commanders, as they'll be like, oh my gosh, we need this guy on the field ASAP, and they'll fold inside him.
That's actually a great point. And maybe Jaden Daniels throws some interceptions on purpose.
To get this guy. I mean, like I said, that might push it over the deal once they see that how disastrous the offense is.
Yeah, I do want to get Jack's take on this, as well as our special guest on Wednesday's show. But we're going to hold off on the football talk until then because it is going to be a packed show. A lot of fantasy talk. Won't reveal who the guest is yet because it is a very special guest. But unless you have anything else, I think we can wrap it up.
That's all I got. Appreciate you guys. We're off until next show on Wednesday, then back to regular scheduled programming. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe, everybody. Peace.
Football is back. Hall of Fame game. Trey Lance.